Hi guys, welcome back to a new video. And in this video I'm going to get into what it costs to build a big turbo 1.8T and put in a Mark II. So I've had lots of questions about this and I thought doing a video should clear up all that instead of answering people individually. So the car as it was a 91 Mark II GTI. It was an 8 valve, so it was like the POV spec version. There was nothing much to it. It was just K-Jet, and then me in my wisdom decided that a 16 valve would be better, and it wasn't. And now it's a 20 valve, so it is currently making around 226 kilowatts and 349 newtons, and it feels really good. It feels really strong. The way it makes power and continues to make power until the deadline is really like the key here. Some disclaimers to get out of the way. The pricing that I'm going to give is not exactly accurate, so I rounded it up because I got cost prices and I tried to do some Google searching for like the going rates of things. So I might not be 100% correct, but it will be close to give you an idea of what it costs. And you could probably get parts cheaper or more expensive. It really depends on where you're at. And please note that this is in South Africa, so all pricing will be in South African rands. So just a quick look at the bay. It's been painted and cleaned up plenty. It was a mess in here before and looks really good now. Another thing to note is that the goal with the swap was reliability. Because I had so many issues with the 16 valve previously, I wanted something really reliable and serviceable, because this car had a lot of issues. So that was our goal, not to really make it look like the most beautiful thing in the world, but it looks quite good. So yeah, we went for reliability and not all out wildness. I wanted it to be a car that I could take to anything. If I wanted to do a track day, hit up the mountain passes, or drag racing, whatever, like I wanted something that could do it all, and the 1.8T was the way to go on that. So I'm going to go through the parts and pricing, and I will divide it up into sections. So I've got mechanical and turbo boost things, gearing, wiring, ECU, and then some miscellaneous things. Let's start with the engine side. So it's a 1.8T AWC. You can see the marking over there. So the AWC is out of a VW sedan. So it's the most basic engine. It has no VVT, small port head, smaller distance, it's basic. Okay, this is like as simple as it comes. The intake was slightly different. The intake was going out towards the right, so that was swapped out just to make plumbing up the boost pipes easier. And what we paid for the engine is 6,500 rand, but it didn't come with an alternator, a starter, no turbo, no nothing. So it was really like bare bones. For the alternator, 650, starter 400, starter bushes was 250 because the starter wasn't doing the work. We needed a VR6 gearbox mount. That was quite vital for the cable shift box. So if you're not going cable shift, you don't need that. A ribbed V-belt, that was 150. CV and CV boot, that was 500. The PCV was 250. Needed an accelerator bush, that was 50 rand. We needed brake pipes. My front brakes wasn't working, so that was like 300. Brake fluid 100, and antifreeze was 350. And then there's this T piece, you can see it over there, that was 450. The coolant pipes are 600 rand. So this one is actually, like, I've had people ask me, like, where's that from? It's quite a cool hose because it just fits perfectly. I think it's from a Toyota, I'm not too sure which one, but thanks Toyota. And then the water bottle was 700 and the cap was 300. So in total, for like engine, like mechanical things, mostly around the engine side, that came to 12,100. So if you look for an import engine from Mike's or somewhere around there, it's around 14,900. So we've already come in slightly less on the engine side, which is a win. So okay, let's talk about the gearbox and gearing. So it's got a 1.8T AGU gearbox. I'm not sure what the code is, but we've got that box in there. Apparently the ratios are quite short. They feel short yet long, weirdly enough, but I think they are shorter. And we got the box really cheap. It was 2,000 rand. The clutch and flywheel was 800. The gear lever cable was 300. Clutch pipe 500. Clutch pedal 300. Master cylinder was 300, if that's for the clutch, and then the gear lever mechanism was 400. So in total that came to 4,600 rand, which was great. Usually the box, like an import box, would be like 4.5. Okay, so onto the turbo, boost and exhaust side. So I'm just going to rattle these off. It's got a GT 2867 turbo on it. This is from Mr. Turbo, so it's turbo, discharge flange, manifold, inlet flange. That comes to 6.5. So the turbo location is all the way down there. Jamil wanted to use all the stock lines for the oil drain and all of those things, so that location was ideal. I like it as well. It just keeps things cleaner. Don't have like a massive turbo sticking out there. So that was 6.5. Then there's a flex that was 250, 63mm V-band clamp, which was 400. There was a piece of exhaust that was 500. Boost pipes there was a boost pipe for 500. Then there was the turbo gasket set, which was 1.5. Rail bends, which was 400. The air filter, which was 300. Then there was the rubber boost pipes, which was 1,000 rand. There's more boost pipes for 400. Another flex for 800. So the downpipe and V-band was like around 1,000. And the clamp set was 300, and the intercooler around 1.6-ish, and that comes to around 15,500. So the turbo side gets quite pricey, but the wiring is actually a lot more than that. So onto wiring and electrical. So there was wiring clips, which was 600. The wiring plugs, which was 3,000. The injectors 4,000. N75 was 500. Battery cables around 1.5 because we moved the battery to the boot. There's a fuel pressure sensor that I'm still waiting for, that was 900. Temp switch was 150. Lambda was 1.7. The coil pack plug connectors was 750. Then there's the mil-spec connector, which is that guy over there. That was 2.8. That allows us to remove and disconnect the engine harness from the car quickly, and it was more just a nice to have. Then the battery was around 1.4, battery box 250, router 250, and some push hold connectors for 600. The total comes to 19,000 on that. Yeah, so wiring is really expensive. So on the ECU side of things, I've got a ECU Master MU Classic, and that is 12,500. I wanted a good ECU in the car. I wanted something that would be able to handle all the boost, pull timing, like just keep it safe, because when you boost things it gets rough. There's a lot of variables, so I wanted to make sure that we are all good. And then there was a ECU mounting bracket. The ECU doesn't have like any way to mount it, so you need the bracket. It's a fancy piece of metal with a cutout in it, and that was 600. Then there's the data logger that I wanted, just so that I could connect it to my phone, but it's also nice to have to just pull logs and check what the engine is doing without the laptop connected, and that was 2,300 rand. So on the ECU side, the total is 15,400. When it comes to ECUs, there's a lot of different ways you can go. Locally, a lot of guys like to run the Dictator 60-2. That works. It just doesn't have as many safety parameters in it. It's quite simple to tune. A lot of tuners love it, so that's an option. And then there's also the ME 7.5. I don't think a lot of people can tune it, but it's the better way to go personally if you want to go for like a cheaper alternative to going with a standalone that has all these parameters in it. So then there's the miscellaneous things like fine blasting, which is 250, brush holder 200, wire rod 600, galvanized cleaner 80, meta coat to coat the bay, that was like 220, put in fuel for like 300, wheel alignment was 400. So like those miscellaneous things came to 1,350. So not bad on the miscellaneous side of things. So before I get into the total, things that I didn't cover was exhaust, because the car had an exhaust on it before. It had a 57 to 63, so it's a bit of a mess, but at the moment it works. In future I will go full 63, so I didn't have to do the exhaust on this one. And then the fuel system is still the stock KJ-Tronic fuel system. It's got a really strong pump in it, and it gives the engine more than enough fueling. You have to keep that in mind as well. I won't be talking about labor, because labor is really dependent on who's doing the work. So the J2 guys and Andrew really went above and beyond, and they didn't charge me a lot for this. Like, I'm so thankful for that, because I wouldn't have been able to afford it. It was really expensive. So in total it comes to about 70,000 rand. That's all the costs, and that's me rounding it off. But yeah, it is very expensive to do this. You can do it cheaper. You don't have to go cable shift, you don't have to go big turbo. You can do all of those things after the fact. But yeah, we got carried away. We wanted it to be right the first time. Like, there's still some things to sort out, like the fan. I'm gonna go with 2 smaller slimline fans and just clean it up some more. But at the moment I am really happy with it. So yeah, it's quite a lot, but every time I hear what a K-swap costs, I feel a lot better, because you're looking at about, well, if you're lucky, 100,000, but around 120,000 plus for a K-swap. I'm just saying, for the money, it is a really good package. Yeah, I mean, to try and make this sort of power with a 16 valve or an 820 valve, it's going to cost you quite a bit. Like, things are just expensive. So there you have it. That's what it costs. So guys, that's it on this one for me. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.